Happy Halloween! So it's only fitting to review a spooky coaster in Demon. This is a classic aero looping coaster at both Six Flags Great America and California's Great America. These rides have creepy theming, and the one in Illinois has actually gotten stuck mid-ride upside down, which gave a dozen people quite the scare. This review will cover the ride's full history and also talk about the current ride experience. Marriott opened two amusement parks named Marriott's Great America in 1976, one in Santa Clara, California, and the other in Gurnee, Illinois. The two parks opened with nearly identical layouts and ride lineups. Both parks offered 3 roller coasters in their opening days, with the most thrilling of the bunch being Turn of the Century. This was an aerodynamics corkscrew coaster with an extended layout. After the drop, riders would navigate 2 camelbacks loaded with airtime. Then there was a turnaround, back-to-back corkscrews, and a helix finale. Those 2 corkscrews would have tied a few other rides for the most inversions of any coaster. But just before Turn of the Century opened, Cedar Point opened Corkscrew. This was the world's first coaster to take riders upside down 3 times. This was a more marketable claim, and the edge of Cedar Point's market overlapped with that of the Gurnee Park. Marriott wanted to get a record-breaking coaster to their parks for the 1980 season, and they found an economical way to do so. They decided to convert Turn of the Century into Demon. This was successful as it yielded a highly marketable claim and a popular ride for a fraction of the cost of something new. The 2 camelbacks were removed and replaced with 2 vertical loops. This gave the ride 4 inversions, which would tie Carolina Cyclone to Carowinds for the most of any coaster. They also gave the coaster a large retheme. The all-white coasters were given a more menacing black paint scheme. Illinois' version still has these colors to this day. California's is similar, but the rails are a fiery orange. The ride's got some extensive rockwork. This was added around all 4 inversions. The vertical loops had rockwork piercing through the second loop and on the valleys. This yielded some fantastic near misses. However, this was removed from California in the 1990s. Then it was removed from the Illinois version in 2023 after a piece was rumored to have fallen on the track. Thankfully, you still have the rockwork entering the first corkscrew in both versions. It's a mini mountain with a demon face carved into it, and it looks amazing. As a bonus, both also emit fog. Then California still has a functional waterfall spewing red blood. This feature has not worked in the Illinois version in a very long time. A tunnel was also added after the 2 vertical loops. This was filled with flashing lights to enhance the sense of speed. The Illinois version has always had the lights. They were removed from the California version for several years, but they were recently brought back in 2021. Then the ride also received an extensive backstory, told through a delightfully cheesy theme song.
Have you ever seen the demon?
The story is that the park missed payments on the Turn of the Century roller coaster, causing it to be possessed by a demon, hence the ride's new name and appearance. This theme song, as well as some of the darker thematic elements, were removed by the 1990s due to opposition from religious groups. While the song never returned to California's version, it thankfully returned to the Illinois version in 2005 and has remained ever since. In general, the presentation of that demon is superior, mainly due to its location. The ride is more centrally located in the park, and it's highly visible from multiple midways. Not only that, but the park's train still passes underneath the corkscrew. Compare that to California's version where the ride is set at the edge of the property. Then trees block your view of the ride from the midway. I know people have been to the park and missed this ride entirely. You don't really see the ride until you enter the queue line. The queues in both versions are routed identically. They start by wrapping underneath the lift hill. Then you have some switchbacks adjacent to the vertical loops, offering some nice views. These are uncovered in Illinois and covered in California. Related to that, The load side of the platform is covered on both versions, but the track and unload sides are completely exposed. Marriott didn't seem to like roofs on their coasters for some reason. I've never had to wait long for the one in Illinois, even with most of my visits taking place on busy days. The only exception was 2016, when the coaster operated with virtual reality. This severely reduced the coaster's throughput, leading to painstakingly slow queues. Dispatches took 3 to 4 times as long to secure the headsets, so I am glad this did not last. I've encountered decent queues for the one in California, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, but that was half the park's other major coasters. So this is a ride you don't have to rush to in the morning at either park. It is best to save this for the afternoon when the other queues are longer. If you are visiting on a busy day, the ride is available on the Skip the Line pass at both parks. I think Illinois' Demon has shorter queues for 2 reasons. One, it is located in a much deeper park. Gurney has 16 roller coasters, and you could argue it's not even in the park's top 10. Meanwhile, California has just 9 coasters, and Demon is arguably their 4th best coaster. Second, Illinois has much faster operations. I have routinely seen stacking on the one in California. Both versions routinely run 2 trains. Each train holds a max of 24 riders, as they are comprised of 6 cars with 2 rows of 2. The Illinois version used to run 3 trains simultaneously when the ride was more popular, which is quite impressive considering Demon is not a super long coaster. Once you reach the station, you are free to select any row you'd like. I don't have a strong preference where I sit in California's Demon, but I much prefer the back row in the Illinois version. That is because the Illinois Demon still retains the ride's original drop. California's version had the drop reprofiled in the 1990s to make it less steep. This neutered it and made it far tamer. This is ironic because the California Demon has a higher height limit. Guests must be at least 48 inches tall to ride that version. Meanwhile, guests only need to be 42 inches tall to ride the Illinois installation. That is among the lowest height limits for any inverting coaster, so many kids in the Chicago area make this their first looping coaster. Riders are restrained by over-the-shoulder harnesses. These can cause headbanging if you're on the shorter side, because there are some janky transitions on this ride, but they're not too much of a problem for me because my head is above the top of the restraint. Honestly, my bigger gripe with the trains is the general lack of room, particularly on California's. Before going into the element breakdown, I need to talk about some incidents these coasters have been involved with. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured in any of them. In 1976, California's turn of the century lost 2 guide wheel assemblies in the span of just 9 days. In 1993, 2 trains on Gurney's Demon collided at low speeds in the station. But this coaster had a much higher profile incident in 1998. Many people fear getting stuck upside down on a roller coaster, even though the odds of it happening are astronomically small. Well, Demon actually did that. Due to a wheel malfunction, riders were stuck for up to 2 hours until they could all be rescued. Once dispatched, you have a small dip out of the station, and you pass through a tunnel. The one in California was just dark when I rode it, but I have heard they've recently added some multicolored lights. I like the one better in Illinois, as you have some evil red eyes hanging from the ceiling. You emerge through a rock crater and ascend a 102-foot, or 31-meter tall lift hill. The arrow clickety-clacks are as on point as ever. Once at the top, you have a small dip and turn 180 degrees to the left. This part feels similar to the standard corkscrew layout. Both demons then navigate a 9-story plunge. The California one is quite underwhelming with a reprofiled drop. It is shallow and offers absolutely no airtime. It is a shame it was changed. Compare that to the Illinois version that still has the original shaping. It is considerably steeper. When you reach the max angle, those in back get a wild burst of ejector airtime. It is the top moment on the ride, and one of the best drops of any aero looper. From this point forwards, The two rides feel nearly identical. After the drop, you navigate the two vertical loops. The first offers very good positive Gs, and my vision starts to turn gray here. Then there's a brief section of straight track in between. This was more exciting with the rockwork present. Now, it just gives you a second to catch your breath. The second vertical loop is forceful as well, offering slightly stronger positive Gs than the first. These two loops are powerhouses. Riders then thrust through a tunnel with flashing lights. These are really disorienting. It makes what would have been a lackluster straightaway an entertaining moment. You then rise upwards. It is shallow, and you bleed off way too much speed to offer any negative Gs. The train then meekly passes through a set of trims. These are usually off, because the train is not traveling fast at this point anyway. Up until this point, the ride has been reasonably smooth. The fast parts have been straight, and the turns have all been taken very slowly, but the return run is two uncomfortable transitions. You exit the turnaround via the shallow drop. This offers no airtime, but it does have a cool visual plunging into the demon-faced rock. However, the pullout has a downright brutal transition. You bank too early, and the train is awkwardly snapped right on the entry into the corkscrew. This will undoubtedly bash your head or neck. Your height determines which body part takes the impact. It hurts. The corkscrews themselves are fine though. They are smooth enough, and if you're in the back, you get some okay whip through them. This leads into an upwards helix. This is another transition you need to watch out for. The entry will slam you sideways. You then calmly spiral upwards, getting no notable Gs due to the lack of speed. You then hit the brakes and return to the station, ending the 2,130 foot or 650 meter long experience. It is not the longest looper, but it has a satisfactory enough duration. I already touched on the smoothness, but what about the pacing? Demon is uneven. I like the inversions, but the turns are taken quite slowly. This makes it a bit less intense than other arrow loopers, but that may be a good thing if this ends up being an introductory looper for so many kids. So, what would I rate Demon? I would give the California version a 5 out of 10, and the Illinois version a 6 out of 10. The difference is mainly due to the drop. The drop on the Illinois version has some epic airtime. The rest of the ride is similar in both versions, which has its pros and cons. The two vertical loops are powerful, the corkscrews are fun, and I like the lore and decor around the coaster. But it does have imperfect pacing, and two really bad transitions that can lead to discomfort. All in all, it's a janky, but respectable looper. Do I think this ride will be around for a while? I think the one in Illinois should be safe for quite some time. The park clearly appreciates its history, and it plays an important role in the park as a family looping coaster due to that lower height limit. Plus, it is rumored that it will be incorporated into a little themed area in 2025 with the new demon-themed B&M dive coaster opening in Wrath of Rakshasa. I do think the one in California is operating on borrowed time though. That is solely because the park is slated to close in a few years after Cedar Fair sold the land underneath the park. I suspect it will continue to run until the park's last day, but I doubt it will be relocated due to its age. So those are my thoughts on Demon at both Six Flags Great America and California's Great America. What are your thoughts about this coaster? Which of the two do you prefer? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.